I was thinking about you this morning. I was thinking the word disruptor came to my mind. You have the older brokerages that have been around.
Yep.
And you guys were like the first, like now it's become more popular to see different new brokerages popping up, but you guys just came out of nowhere. And then I just watched you with a lot of admiration, right? To just come on the scene and just like do deal after deal after deal. All right, welcome back, everybody. We've been down for almost 2 years, and I'm really happy and excited to get back to bringing you guys some great content, some great information. And today I have a heavy hitter with me today.
Hey, how are you?
Ken Wellar from Rittenhouse Realty Advisors. How you doing today?
Great to see you. Good to see you at the apartment trade show.
Yeah.
It was nice to be back at it after kind of a 2-year hiatus of not networking and getting out there. But I've been going to that trade show for about 17 years, and have a lot of friends and people I know for a long time in the industry that attend that. So wasn't at full capacity, but it was just good to be back out there and see some old friends and be with the team again. So it was great to see you there.
Wonderful. So Ken has 20 years of experience as a broker, right?
Yeah. So
and he's done over north of $2 billion in deals. So it's a wealth of experience here. I've been also in the business for 20 years myself. And my father, when he first got into business, like over 40 years ago, it's like he didn't know anything about apartments or anything like that, but the broker helped him. He took him by his hand and walked him through the deal, basically. She told him about owner financing because it was really hard to get a loan. Yeah. And then he borrowed the money up to put the down money on to start his first property. But so for us, brokers are like, you're like God to us in a way. You know what I mean? Like you're highly admired. Yeah. And you guys bring us the goods.
Yeah, I was on my way here at one of my clients. We were catching up just on different deals, but he bought maybe 4 or 5 deals from me during the last recession, and he just refied and pulled a ton of money out on a couple of deals. And he's like, I'm looking for some opportunities. I'm looking for some opportunities. Every deal I ever bought with you, I made a ton of money. So, it's those long-lasting relationships, that trust that we established with our clients over the years, that he's in a position to look for more opportunities right now. And I'm happy to work with him again and trying to find him that different opportunities, because we're always pounding the door, kind of using our relationships, opening up different opportunities and finding them when people want to sell. But we have different relationships with different lenders, title companies, mortgage brokers. So we really know the full circle how to put a deal together. Right. And during different cycles in the market, we've been involved in every way possible of setting up a deal, from a note sale to selling REOs to doing bid processes when there's multiple 20 bids on a value add deal, to a core Class A building that we're selling for institutions. So we have a full knowledge and full kind of background of working with different lenders.
I was thinking about you this morning. I was thinking the word disruptor came to my mind, because you guys, like 13 years ago, kind of came out of nowhere, right? Young guys at the time, right? So young, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Young guys came out of nowhere, and disruptors are like, now it's like a positive term, instead, as far as like, you have like you have the older brokerages that have been around. Yep. And you guys were like the first, like now it's become more popular to see different new brokerages popping up, but you guys just came out of nowhere. And then I just watched you admire with a lot of admiration, right? To just come on the scene and just like do deal after deal after deal and bring property after property after property to market. Yeah. And you guys kind of shook up this area in terms of multifamily.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like 13 years ago, my partner, Corey Lomberger, he was with one of the national firms, and I was with one of the national firms.
Is it all right to say the names?
Yeah. So he was at CBRE. I was with Marcus Millichap. Great firms. Learned a ton. I didn't know anything about real estate except for fixing up, row homes when I was 20 years old. That's how I really got into business. But, you know, I basically said to Corey, like, why don't we, you know, we were competing on deals all the time. I said, why don't we put, you know, two heads together and make it three and try to go at it together. So we worked together for about 1.5 years and started Rittenhouse Realty Advisors. Back in 2013, it was, you know, the three of us, my other partner, Mark Duzak, you know, we started the company. And, you know, we started from 0 units, not having any deals on our belt to, you know, probably do this year, we'll do just north of 800 million at least, close to, you know, 90 to 100 deals, depending on how many deals actually close.
So let me ask you this, like most of the people you deal with, they're probably seasoned investors.
Yes.
What about for a new guy trying to get in?
Yeah.
Trying to get into this industry? Is it hard? Is there a barrier? What do you think?
There's definitely harder than when I started. You know, I would say there's more competition. There's more capital, which is great. So if I would suggest if anyone trying to buy and get into real estate today, definitely get a mentor. Like I'm part of this program called Jumpstart, which I'm a mentor. It's in Germantown. It's ran by this guy, Ken Wellar, and he's doing an amazing job. It's just all about mentorship, and it's basically buying a single-family house or a duplex, fixing it up, and starting out that way, just very basic.
Right.
And see, you know, I always tell like my mentees, like, you want to see if you like the business. You want to understand it. And there's so much more to this business, just buying, you know, fix this house and sell it, you know, that you see on TV.
Right.
There's management, there's financing. You got to deal with contractors. You have to deal with licenses.
And you need those relationships.
You
You need to build a
those
team. You need to build
yeah.
those relationships. That's
you have
key.
to have a solid accountant. You have a solid lawyer that you work with. You really want to pull together kind of a circle of influencers that really help you build your business. But if someone's starting today, I would start out just starting small and see if you like it. You know, I've seen guys come into the business, you know, they maybe come from a lot of money or they just sold a company. They'll come in with a heavy splash and went, you know, very big. And sometimes it doesn't always work out because maybe they don't have the right management team in place, or they didn't finance the deal correctly, or they just don't like the business in general. And, you know, I've seen people kind of come in and out. Right. But I would say it's in real estate, it's the long game, and you got to look at things as like a career. I was doing things 15 years ago, you know, thinking about that relationship and thinking, you know, telling my clients the right thing that, you know, 3, 5, 10 years down the line when you're looking to sell. I remember Ken Wellar told me, you know, what to do to add that value to that building. And, you know, I kind of really cherish those relationships. And I think those relationships long term have really helped us season our business and kind of scale it to what it is today.
Yeah. And now a lot of the brokers, even that I talk to, they themselves are astonished with what's going on with the market.
Yeah. I've never seen it like it is today. I mean, it's, you know, there was so much capital sitting on the sideline last year. I remember, you know, during COVID, everything basically shut down from March, April, and May. It was very hard. We were just trying to keep our deals together at that point.
Exactly.
A lot of deals, you know, kind of got put to the side, and a lot of people just really focused on the operation, which they needed to.
Right. That's what we
didn't know if you didn't, you know, if your tenants are going to pay rent. We didn't know. Like,
right. It was a scary time for
yeah. So I think all that like time off, you know, there was about 6 months when nothing really happened. We did actually pretty well, all considering. We sold a couple large deals during like the heart of COVID that we kind of just pushed through. But I think now it's just all that money that was sitting on the sideline and saw how well multifamily actually did during the pandemic. Right. The collections did well. And then you had so much capital that was maybe invested in office buildings or retail.
Right, that was the next point I was thinking about.
That now, you know, they don't feel comfortable investing in that sector. So they'll, you know, there are a lot of people that weren't traditionally in multifamily are now coming into the space and want to really have a piece in
and even
that
the
business.
Hotel industry took a hit.
Yeah, the hotel business took a very bad hit.
I watched this guy, Ben Mala. You ever heard of him on YouTube?
I heard of the name, yeah.
But he started off with multifamily. He's like, you know, older guy, kind of like my father, came from nothing and then just built up. And then, you know, did a lot of hotel business, you know, got a bunch of hotels as well. And he's just flipping hotels and, you know, and so he said in the beginning, he's like, you know, my apartments are doing great. He said, but a hotel, my God, you know, he had to go through some hoops.
Yeah,
and stuff,
I'm actually seeing, and I've worked with some of my clients that they're actually looking at hotel conversions.
Yeah,
they're looking at the zoning and seeing if they can convert the hotels into multifamily.
Right.
Either micro units or big, depending on the
I saw one recently in Allentown. They took the old Holiday Inn building and they converted it all into apartments. They did a great job. With J.B. Riley, you familiar with them?
Yeah, sure.
The guys in Allentown. I walked through that a couple months back. I think it was early summer.
Nice.
They did a really good job up there.
Yeah, I mean, people are looking for opportunities, right?
So I just want to pick your brain a little bit about, like, as a broker, what do you love when it comes to clients? Like, you know, so certain clients kind of rub, like, all right, let me backtrack a little bit. Like, somebody coming in, you know, what do they need to do? What's good for them to know as far as working with a broker? Like, what are the things that brokers love and what do brokers can't stand, basically? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because you want to build that relationship with your broker, right?
That's a good question. Look, you know, we just closed a $100 million deal with one of our really good clients. And his father taught him, we were flying to go into a meeting about a few weeks ago. And basically his father told him, always, you know, your reputation's everything, but you got to always take care of the brokers because they're the ones that are finding the opportunities. Exactly. And that stuck with me. It's like, I always don't understand, if you're truly in the business and looking to scale your business, like, why wouldn't you take our call or meet with us? Because we always have different opportunities. But I would say most importantly, it's just like your integrity, you know, say what you're going to do and follow through. Like, you know, if you're in due diligence and something really comes up and it's warrants a retrade, you know, that's one thing. But if you're going into a deal just to tie it up and retrade it, you know, that just looks bad on us as a broker because we're advising our seller that, you know, this guy's his track record, he should be able to close. You know, it doesn't suit well for your reputation long term in the marketplace. First of all, I know all the brokers in the marketplace. I either worked with them over the years. We've done deals together. You know, they're my friends. You know, some guys we grew up together with that are in the business. So I've known some of these guys for 20 years, even longer. So, you know, people, you know, brokers talk with each other. What's your experience with this buyer?
Right.
And, you know, your reputation goes a long way of doing what you say you're going to do.
Right.
So that's really important.
So a great thing is obviously once you sign, you go through with the deal.
Yeah.
You know, it's like.
Yeah. I mean, with the market we're in today, I'm seeing more deals being hard at signing than I ever seen in my career. It feels a little bit about like 2007. Deals are not as leveraged, but, you know, we're seeing a lot of buyers today that are, you know, signing $500,000, $1 million at signing. They may get an access agreement to start their due diligence at signing of the letter of intent, and then they'll do their due diligence and basically be hard once they sign the contract.
That was kind of like my next question. What's it take to get a deal done these days?
Yeah, I think it's very important, like really good terms and, you know, very short time period. It's right. You know, we're dealing with a lot of New York capital. I would say in this region, I actually started, when we started Rittenhouse Realty Advisor, I actually got an apartment in New York for 5 years. And I met with every single multifamily owner or developer in New York. I'd make it a point to go and see and introduce myself and basically say, I know you're a developer in New York or own a ton of multifamily in New York, but if you want to look outside the region, let me know. I have a ton of opportunities. And we started just showing different New York buyers like our opportunities. And it really opened up the door of the mentality of new kind of investors and blood coming into this region. And that mentality in New York is you're signing hard money at signing of the LOI. Like, that's how competitive it was. It's not as competitive today, but back, you know, traditionally New York is one of the most competitive markets you could be in. So, you know, seeing all that capital come into the market, you're starting to see the trends of non-refundable money signing, and 30, 60-day close type of deals. And there's so much capital too, right? I would say right now, the dominance of this year I've ever seen is the debt funds. The debt funds are just as aggressive as agencies or the banks. I mean, they're closing, 80, 85% leverage loan to cost. So, I mean, we're seeing super aggressive terms. I think that's really pushing price as well. So I think, if you're coming in today's market as a buyer, you have to come in with very aggressive terms with pretty quick terms. And that's kind of what we're seeing win deals.
And also like almost I wouldn't say relaxed due diligence, but like, it's almost like you do your due diligence up front.
Correct. Yeah.
And it's just like, once we sign this, we're just buying in. Like with us, after our experience, like we can kind of walk through a property, look at it, assess it real quick. And then we don't have to go and look at every nook and cranny to do a due diligence. We can pretty much, you're going to roll with the punches, and whatever comes up, and you're never going to always know what's hidden.
If you're buying a 500 unit apartment building, each tenant's going to be different. Each unit's going to be different. You're going to have to deal with things.
And that was that last deal we did when we bought the 800 units. It wasn't it was like this guy wanted the due diligence up front, right? Basically, because he wanted whoever's going to sign, and we put $1 million down.
Yeah.
Like to show him, like, we're going to sign and we're going to go through this. We're done, so.
That shows a commitment.
Yeah.
And, that as a seller, and we're advising sellers, we want that. We want them to commit. We want to make sure the buyer's committing. We want to make sure they're getting the highest price with the best terms.
And then there's a whole lot of, obviously in your industry, there's a whole lot of like back and forth deal with the seller, deal with the buyer, deal going back and forth. That can be kind of nerve-wracking at times. I think. What do you do for your own mental sanity? Like,
you can't let it affect you. I mean, because you're talking about big deals, big transactions. You can't.
And personalities and egos.
Yeah. I don't take anything personal anymore. It's all business. So it's like every person I deal with is different, and other people I deal with have different negotiating skills. So, you take it with a grain of salt. You're there to represent your seller to get the best terms and price, and you got to deal with different personalities. So you just got to work through it and adjust. And I don't get upset about much. So it's how I deal with a lot of it.
Just
experience. Being a professional about it. And,
right.
There's things that come up in every deal. I mean, there's always a FU part of a deal where either the buyer and the seller are both fed up with each other and they both want to walk away. The key, one of the key roles that we play is like, all right, let's everyone take a step back. Let's take a breather. Let's look what's wrong. How do we get through this situation? And once we get through it, we'll get it closed. And there's usually at least 9 out of 10 deals that something comes up.
So brokers got to have mediation skills.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, you got to be almost a psychologist, like to deal with some of these people. I deal with some funny people.
Right.
Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, interesting people, right?
Yeah, very interesting people.
So what I was gonna say. So you've achieved a lot of success, obviously, through your brokerage and things. What do you see? Like, you get to a point where like what's the next step? Like, basically, when you get to a certain place in life where, like, financially you're good, your business is running good, you guys got a good operation on flowing. Are you at the point now where you're kind of like looking and like figuring out, like, I'm reached this kind of place in my life, and I want to see what else is there or what's next, or you know what I mean? Or
yeah,
like, where
no,
can I go next?
I mean, that's the person I am. I'm very driven. I'm hungry. I come from a very humble background. So everything I've done, I kind of figured out on my own.
So what drives you?
Yeah. So I would just say, let's just, I don't know. I work out. I literally wake up every day at like 4:35.
Right.
I start working, at my home office. I work out an hour, and it just gets me. It's just exciting. I don't know. It's kind of like
you're working work stuff at 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
and then work out.
And then I work out, and then I go back to work, and then I pretty much don't shut it off until I go to bed. So I'm either at networking events but I love what I do, right? So I'm very passionate, And I love to be competitive as well. Our business is very competitive.
Right.
So I think that drives me a lot. I like the competition.
Okay.
But now, to go back to your question, I like to kind of do the mentorship with some of the younger guys on our team. I love seeing them grow. Some of the guys that started with us 5 years ago are really just hitting it out of the park. And I just love to see them grow and kind of figure it out on their own. One of our guys, Luke Deluca, he started with me in New York.
I always get his calls. He always calls.
Yeah, Luke's the best. Such a gentleman. Played football at Penn. Just a great human being. But we started out. I just remember when he started. We just opened Rittenhouse, and I had him work in New York with me, going to all these meetings, not knowing anybody. And one of our first deals we ever listed was a $200 million student housing deal on the Upper East Side, and the way the two of us just worked it, it was just fun. But that experience, I think he learned so much from that experience. We got a lot of rejections and a lot of no's, but he worked through it and he learned from that. And now he's just he's going to be one of our top guys in our office this year. And I just love seeing that guys not giving up and that persistence. We're doing a lot more student housing stuff now nationally. We hired a guy out of New York. The guy's name's Doug Sitt. His family's a big real estate family, but he's very hungry, young guy. I love mentoring, helping him grow, and we have probably close to $400 million already under agreement just in student housing, in a platform we started about a year ago. So it's watching things like that groom and scale is very exciting and fun.
And you guys are always known for like bringing in the young fresh brokers and then getting them to grooming them.
And we don't just throw them out there. We work with them. We kind of work as one big team. So either Mark, Corey, or myself, we're all working together to help them get the deal across the finish line. We don't just throw them out there. We help them with the underwriting. We help them out how to do site visits, how to negotiate. Like we're pretty involved. We're touching almost every single deal that hits our system. But I think what's important to me right now too is like just giving back to the community.
Right.
I've been really big into Big Brothers Big Sisters. That's been a big passion for me. I started something called Building Up Awards that kind of honored a lot of the developers in different regions that were giving back to communities. And that was a huge success. We had two great events. We raised over $700,000 for Big Brothers Big Sisters. I was a big brother. Like I said earlier, I came from like a very humble background. And if I didn't have mentors in my life, I kind of could have went down a different path where some of my friends, it didn't work out as well.
I think that's the number one thing in any field, and especially this field, is to have somebody who's been there, done that. I'm lucky that my mentor is homegrown. You know what I mean? Like my mentor is my father. And it's a little different because it's like it's your father, so you think that you get to an age where you think you're the smartest guy in the world, and then you realize later on you don't know nothing. He knows everything, right? Yeah. And then to be able to take from my mentor, but then also bring my mix into the play. You know what I mean? It's like to be able to.
That's amazing. So it's like I always see some of the most successful real estate people in this industry are families. They learn from their father, and then the new generation comes in and really scales the business. I look at the Morgans. John Morgan's a good friend of mine. Okay. John, when he got out of school, he went up to New York, learned the debt. He learned finance really in New York, and came back down and worked with his father Mitch, and just really scaled the business to where it is now. They're now the second largest apartment owner in the country. It's amazing what him and Jason have done since they really helped their father take over the business. Mm-hmm. But it's families like that I admire. It's like you're not in real estate. It's not like a quick in and out. It's generational wealth that you're creating, right? So you really want to you're buying things long term. Traditionally, if you have a 10-year outlook and buying something, usually you don't get hurt. I see guys who get hurt if they're trying to go in a deal, have a in and out kind of mentality, high leverage, and then the market change. You might have interest rates change, or their loan comes due. These are all things that guys could get hurt if they.
Is there any like certain particular traits you see in the families that are like kind of generational with real estate? Like, do you see any commonalities or?
Yeah, good question. I think they have a longer term outlook, right? So it's a lot of the time it's their own money. So they're not using private equity firms to hit certain hurdles to get certain promotes. They got to get, they're looking at it like, I'm putting my own money to work.
Right.
I'm looking at this 10 to 20 years. We're going to manage it. We're going to do our business plan, and hopefully I could give this to my kids one day. So I think that's a common theme that I see with families and some of these syndicators that are more fee driven or kind of in and out of a deal and are just really driven on fees, and they're kind of strangled by their partners.
It seems like there's two types of investors. One are like the buy and hold kind of guys like us. And then you also have the people that buy, they come in, they buy it, they renovate it, and they flip it, and then they move on to their next deal. Do you see any common traits there too, as far as the buy and hold people versus the people who kind of come in? They're always the people who, I guess I wouldn't know about it because from my own person, we're pretty much buy and hold. But the people who come in, they buy a property. Like one guy bought the Penn Manor building. He bought it for like 2.3. I think Luke was telling me.
Yeah, we sold it.
And then he flipped it for 5 recently, right?
Yeah, we just put it under contract. Yeah,
for 5. So, and within, I think 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I don't know the person, but is there a different trait as far as those type of investors, that people buy and hold, and the people that kind of just buy, hold for a few years and then move money around?
Well, I think, their business plans are kind of accelerated, right? Their business plan has to move quicker than a longer term holder. So,
right.
They'll do things to try to do the renovations, the facade work, or the, landscaping, or upgrade the kitchens and bathrooms. They'll have to do that a lot sooner than
they come in with a game plan.
Yeah, they have a game plan.
They're like, we're going to come in here.
Plan. This is what we're doing.
We're gonna get it ready for market, basically.
Yeah. So they kind of, a lot of these groups, they'll have that in their model. Like, here's my 3-5 year exit. This is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm pro forma my exit cap rate is going to be once I'm done my renovation. Right. So I think it's.
And then they got to have something in place so when they sell that, it can move to the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
So
they're constantly.
Yeah. So we're seeing
they constantly need new inventory as well. They're like.
Yeah, so they're always talking to a lot of people. Like, if you're that type of buyer, you better have a lot of relationships with a lot of brokers.
Right.
You better be talking to every residential realtor, to every commercial broker in this whole area. You want to find different opportunities. You want to be talking to lenders. You want to talk to estate attorneys. You want to be talking to anyone who might have a tip on if someone's going to sell.
Nowadays, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, like, there's always 4 reasons why people typically sell apartments. We call them the 4 Ds.
Okay.
The divorce, if someone's going through a divorce.
Right.
It could be a death, someone passes away. The debt's coming due. And then dispute. There's dispute between partnerships.
Ah.
They're typically the 4 motivations we typically see sellers, why they end up selling.
Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. I never thought about that. 4 Ds: death, divorce, debt coming due. Obviously, was always, and then dispute. Yep. Dispute between partners, usually, right?
Yep. Usually, some sort of something going on. Partners, partnerships. So
that's why they move a lot more properties. I think in Florida, there's a lot more divorce there, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. A lot more temptations in Florida than up here.
So, before I pull this up, So one thing I wanted to ask you is the way traditionally we have done debt service, right, is we kind of learned this from our father, and we're being a little bit more flexible these days, but he does something which I think, now you tell me if this is unheard of or different compared to most, because you see the deals and you see the way people structure their debt service, right? So he's always been a fan of the 15-year self-liquidating loans. That in 15 years he's paying off the property. He's coming in with his down money. He's getting a 15-year self-liquidating.
Yeah.
Is that a rare breed or what?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely kind of a generational type of outlook. You're looking at pretty much not having any debt, you know, in 15 years, it's a little harder to scale that just because, you know, I think the best thing about real estate is leverage, right?
Right.
So, you know, if you have properties where your equities, I mean, your debt's only 20% of what the value of your property is. I mean, you could refinance that up to 70%, use that leverage, use that equity as leverage for your next property.
Right. And as a result of that, you can look, this is some of our portfolio here. You can see the debt compared to the equity. And this is being conservative as far as, you know, the price per units here.
Yeah.
So at some point, there's going to be a lot of equity that can be then reutilized,
yeah,
like
I mean,
for
look,
bigger deals.
You're sitting on a lot of wealth, a lot of equity, but are you maximizing the return on your equity, right?
Exactly.
So, you know, you could maybe use that money better if you refinance some of that money out and put that money back to work and kind of leverage that up. Maybe even if you don't, your father's obviously conservative. Even if you want to go up to maybe 65% loan to value on a refi, you could use that. You know, that's a lot of cash that you could really scale that to. You use that equity and buy another $250 million of multifamily properties within a few years. And what's nice about it, and we were talking about this earlier, is it's your own money, it's your family money. So you don't have any restraints of, you know, working, you know, doing friends and family when you're raising money, or you don't have any private equity firms that you have to answer to.
That's how we were able to do that Harrisburg deal. We were able to pull 15 from this property, you know, and that way, because that property wasn't really able to hold a loan on its own. The way those properties were structured, they wouldn't even be paying the bills. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for this help from being able to pull equity from another property that's paid off.
Yeah.
And this
you also don't want to over leverage, right? You want to stay.
Yeah, that's why. And this property he bought he bought that property in Arbor Village in '98 for less than $5 million.
Yep.
And that's almost 300 units, and they're easily over 100,000 a unit.
I would think you're very, yeah. No, I mean what we're seeing in the market now.
There's more than that, but I'm being conservative.
We're probably in like the 150K a door now.
So you look at the value over time, even with maybe you're not using the full potential of your equity to work, but
for any garden
style. But you look at the value, how the increase in the value from a $5 million property, it was really busted.
Yep.
When we bought it, really busted, really distressed. I was one of the managers when we first took that over, you know. And,
but that's huge. I mean, look, you worked a deal. You were the hands. You were working the deal every day, right? You were knocking on the doors. You were dealing with the tenants. You really added the value, right? You know, rule I always like to use is, you know, if I spend $7,000 to upgrade the kitchens and bathrooms, will I be able to, you know, increase my rents by like $300? You know, there should be a number that you're able to raise your rents on. But you clearly worked it. You got to be there, hands on. And the beautiful thing about real estate, you keep working it. You pay down your debt. Your tenants pay down your debt each year. Yeah, you know that your equity keeps increasing, and you're building wealth.
So we're about to wrap up, but any just closing tips you'd give to people coming into the industry, or even people who have seasoned that, you know, they just need to be reminded of?
Yeah, I mean, look, it doesn't matter like how successful you are, or, you know, if you're just starting out, like you need to just talk to people, have conversation with people, get people's point of view of what they're seeing. You know, join groups. You know, I'm involved in like 5 or 6 different organizations that, you know, they're either my peers or in their different positions in different companies that you're kind of bouncing ideas off of. You're talking. Find a mentor. You know, find someone that you could really look up to and ask questions about, and that could help you out.
So ideas and innovation are really important, especially in these days and times. How do you guys stay fresh? It's more so like the interactions with different groups and stuff helps you to create those ideas. Yeah, and you see things from different perspectives.
100%. And I'm a big guy when it comes to networking and going to events, going to trade shows. You know, obviously we saw each other at the PAA event, but I mean, I got to tell you, I'm at least a different conference at least once a month. I'm meeting new people from all over the country. I'm part of the Forbes Council yesterday. I was on a Zoom call with 30 of the top guys in their areas, in their region, and what they do, and just hearing what they dealt with during COVID. Right. You know, hearing other people's experiences it's like free learning, right? It's like the more people you talk, the more experiences you get, the more you learn. So just always keep your mind open, never shut it down. And I think that's really the key of growth, and just being open. I think that's really important.
So last question, how do you you're a super go-getter, you know, you're working all day from 4:35 in the morning till you shut it off at night. How do you balance family and work, you know?
It's a great question. You know, weekends is time with my family. You know, during the day, I take my son to work. Taking my son to school every day.
How old is your son?
He's 3 years old.
Okay.
So I wake him up every morning, get him ready, take him to school. You know, that's my time when I'm talking to him, hanging out with him, till I'm picking him up at school, dropping him off. Then I'm going back to work, hanging out. We'll have dinner together, put him to bed, and then, you know, typically, you know, we'll work until I go to sleep. And then the weekends, you know, we're always doing fun things. Like, I'm a big traveler, so I'll get on a plane. You know, we'll just do something fun. I mean, I think he's turning 19, and he's been in 19 countries already, and he's only 3 years old, and that's through COVID. So he got a lot of good traveling in as a young little lad. Wow. Yeah.
I found out that, like, my kids are grown now. I got one in college the first year and one's last year of high school. And I found out that, like, the time just coming and back going to school is probably some of the most valuable time, because, like, you really get to just talk, and it's just, they have no distractions unless they're looking at their phone or whatever, and you tell them to put it down for a while or whatever. But it's just like some of the times where you can just kind of share your wisdom and really communicate most effectively, I think, to your children. At least for me, I have just experienced that over time. It's one of the best times to really drop in those lessons, plant those seeds, you know?
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Yeah, I do the same thing. I mean, I think even before he was one, I had him in my office. He would just listen to me, just hearing what I do. I think bringing him to job sites, construction sites, I think it's cool. He really appreciates it.
Yeah, they get to learn at a very young age. You know, my kids, I told them they started, and they were 14, they started with the cleaning people. And they started cleaning the buildings at the high-rise building in Pottstown, you know what I mean? And then they started with, like, maintenance and then painting. And so tomorrow, if they do take over the business, it's up to them. But if they do, you know, like, they've known from the ground up what these people are experiencing that are working with them, you know what I mean? So they get to see it through their eyes.
It's huge. It's so valuable. I mean, the one kid I'll circle back with, Doug said, he started traveling with his dad and looking at his different properties across the country at 10 years old. And throughout college, he would go to tours. He would meet the janitor, the maintenance guys, like to your point. Like, that's how you create generational wealth. You start them young. You start teaching your kids the business as young as you can. And, you know, it always sticks with them. And, you know, as long as they're hungry, they're going to kill it.
Well, it's been a great conversation.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you taking time to come out here.
Great to see you.
I'm looking forward to having Corey on too as well.
Yeah, absolutely. This was very fun. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right,
guys. Appreciate you. If you like what you're hearing, hit the like button. And if you don't, hit it anyway. You know what I mean? Drop a comment, you know, tell us what you feel. You know, somebody actually sent me a DM on Instagram and said, you guys, what happened? Like, where you guys been at? Like, I'm enjoying your podcast. I'm getting so much out of them. And I want to pull that up, but I want to find that thing. But thank you. I forget your name right now, but thank you for helping us, to giving me that push to come back and to give this, you know, to give back. So thank you. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.